This is your host, Pete Moore, and I am pleased and humbled to announce the launch of my one and only book, Time to Win Again. 52 takeaways from playing and watching team sports to ensure your business success. Those of you who know me personally, and anyone who listens to Halo Talks for any length of time, know that I am an avid sports fan and a big believer in the value of team sports. What I've seen over the past 25 years helping businesses grow, raising capital, being an entrepreneur myself, and coaching and mentoring executives in the sector, it's the lessons learned on the field perfectly apply to business. Entrepreneurs, executives, managers, you name it. Every company that's a strong company has got a good team. It's a quick read. There's awesome illustrations in there from our good friend Mark at Cruelty Free Cartoons. If you go to integritysq.com, enter your email address, and we will send you information on the book and the Entrepreneur's Survival Kit as well. Be great. Take names. Go Halo. This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC on location, Dallas, Texas. I have the absolute pleasure of bringing on an industry legend and one of our guiding forces, Dr. Cooper from the Cooper Institute. He is age 90 and looks not a day older than 55. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Sometimes I feel like I'm 90. Other days I feel like I'm younger. But I have been blessed, marvelously blessed over the last many years. We started our center in Dallas 51 years ago. Combination of a fitness center and a clinic. It's one of the few fitness centers in America, if not the world, that has combined a medical clinic and a fitness center on the same campus, a 30-acre campus here. And so we've been able to provide medically prescribed and supervised exercise programs. As a result of that, we have some of the best safety records in the world. We've had millions of miles on our tracks, millions of exercise hours on our classes, and yet we've only had one fatality in all those years. And yet this was a man who was probably having some heart attack before he even came to work out. But considering the fact that our average age of our members is 48 years, a lot of people are in cardiac rehabilitation programs. Well, I think it's amazing that we've been so safe. So that's been our number one goal, is to make exercise safe and effective.
So when you started in the industry, obviously you were a trailblazer, and the growth of the industry is now finally caught up, I'd say, with your vision. Where do you see the ecosystem of fitness, healthcare, well-being, insurance companies? Are you seeing those converge, or are you still thinking that we're kind of all running down somewhat parallel paths?
I'm trying my best to make my recommendations available to people all over the world. The books, 19, are published in 42 languages, so to a great extent, we're all over the world. I was honored on my 90th birthday, March the 4th, over 1,300 responses throughout the world wish me happy birthday from 20 different countries. So we get the message across. But this presentation today to the IHRSA meeting, I tried to make it so important that there's no drug can replicate the benefits of an active lifestyle. I talked about from peer-reviewed research that we published in the literature, that such things as following people for a period of 25 years. When they're 50 years of age, they came to the clinic. We'd put them into two categories. Those in the top levels of fitness, good exercise period category for the top 40 percentile, measured by time on the treadmill, age and sex adjusted. Compare those to the bottom category, very poor and poor. Followed for 25 years. The only variable we looked at was their level of fitness. Didn't look at their blood pressure, their cholesterol, their diabetes, or the level of fitness, one thing. And we found that those people in good shape, 25 years later, between 65 and 75 years of age, they had 36% less Alzheimer's and dementia than those in the bottom category. No one's ever proven before you could actually prevent Alzheimer's and dementia. One of the favorite statements now I tell this presentation today was cheaper, more effective to prevent disease than to find a cure.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, not only just
I've been saying that for years.
And this is true. We spent billions of dollars trying to find a cure for Alzheimer's with no success. And now with this published article, we can show you can prevent it. And so we're trying to do. We also found a 40% reduction in chronic kidney disease requiring dialysis, up to 40% reduction in congestive heart failure. 9 different things we documented based on one thing, level of fitness. And so that should be the key to make health clubs successful.
Sure.
Because if people can be motivated, educated, When people come to our clinic, our goal is twofold, and we come from all over the world. We have 150,000 patients in our database, and 52% are corporate sponsored, and 74% are return patients. We have a database now of over 1 million persons of follow-up, for which we've published over 600 papers proving, in peer-reviewed journals, proving that exercise is medicine. So if people can come to our clinic, our goal is to educate them and motivate them, as well as provide the most comprehensive examination in America. We're ranked number 2 in America, the type of examination we do, only behind the Cleveland Clinic. We're number 2, and Duke is number 3, Johns Hopkins number 4, the Mayo Clinic is number 5. But we see more patients than they do, any of those do that, because that's all we do. They told me 51 years ago, you can't limit your practice of medicine even and make ends meet. People see their physicians only when they're well, only when they're sick, not when they're well. You can't make ends meet. And I had to borrow money at first. We had a very difficult time getting started, and now we're fantastically successful because if people realize they have a need, you provide a service to get the results they want, they'll make you successful. That's why, as I said, 74% of our patients are return patients. We're proving now, too, that people coming to us for 20 years or more in the last 45 years, a 45-year follow-up on 100,000 patients, have come to the clinic at least 20 times in that period of time. And we'll find they're living 10 years longer than the national average. Our middle living 87.5 years, women 90.5 years. Here I'm 90 years of age, already beyond that point. And we can prove they can do that if they get Cooperized.
Right.
8 different things we recommend, everything from body mass index to proper nutrition and proper supplementation, proper vitamins, getting the annual examination, a whole series of things we call collectively getting Cooperized. We encourage our people, if you can't get involved in all these things, just do at least one of them. And the most important one on that list is exercise. You're better off being fit and fat than skinny and sedentary.
Yeah, sure. So let me ask you a question. You're starting to see a movement inside of these health insurance companies, whether it's, silver sneakers, whether it's like Active Now, a lot of these corporate programs are now incentivizing people to go to the gym and clubs and gamifying it. Do you think that we're about to hit kind of a tidal wave of money that's going to go towards prevention? Because you obviously got a lot of groups out there that, to a pharmaceutical company, a healthy person is not a prospect for, taking a pill, and they've obviously got a lot of money and they spend a lot of money on commercials, and they try and convince someone that, hey, just get on this Lipitor, which now becomes like a recurring revenue stream for them at 95% gross margin, instead of saying, hey, you're not allowed to take the Lipitor until you go 8 weeks into a fitness center or you go get Cooperized. And then let's see if you need the Lipitor.
And the latest thing about Lipitor, the statin drugs, just came out this last week. There are people that are pre-diabetic, and they take them on statin drugs. It accelerates the problem with diabetes, whether you solve that or not. We've known for years that women on statin drugs tend to have more of a problem developing diabetes than men do, but now it's the same. So these drugs just aren't as safe as we thought they might be. And so that's the last resort for my patients, because we know with our getting Cooperized, majority of people are overweight and inactive. It improves their lipid profile. We know, as I said in the presentation this morning, that we had that dramatic reduction, 48% reduction in coronary heart disease, that's coronary heart disease from 1960 to 1990, is because the baby boomers, they accepted the concept of taking care of themselves. And they quit smoking great numbers. They got their blood pressure under better control. They changed their diets. They controlled stress, all the things we talked about being Cooperized. They did that on their own.
Right.
And I hope that the books that I wrote starting in 1968 led that movement, which I think they did. As I pointed out in the presentation this morning, back in 1968, when the first book was published, we had less than 100,000 joggers. And the critics of the program said that this is another one of those fitness fads, it won't last. But it was based upon 4 years of research in the Air Force. I had 27,000 people involved in a program for 4 years at 5 Air Force bases. I personally went around and ran the 12-minute test with these groups and tried to test. And from that came the aerobics book and the aerobics point system, getting points for endurance type activities. And we could theorize you get 30 points per week. You could reduce decimal causes by at least 58%, increase your life expectancy by some 6 years by just getting 30 points per week. I mean, you do that by just getting 30 minutes of exercise, collective versus same, most days per week. 5 days a week, that's 150 minutes of exercise. That's what's recommended by the American College of Sports Medicine. They're so simple things like this, get that message across. People think that their health is the physician's responsibility, the government's responsibility. And with socialized medicine on the forefront now, you're going to find the quality of health care is going to go in reverse.
Right.
It's going down. I think, and we have found with the COVID epidemic, they claim it's 30-pound increase in weight just during the COVID epidemic in America. I'm not surprised because we've seen we were closed for a while at the clinic and the fitness center. And during the month of April, we were closed down completely. but they couldn't even use the center. And people have been hesitant about coming back to the center. On a big day, we'll have 800 to 1,000 people work out at our center. But there now, we've come back in great numbers. In fact, the last couple, we've had a record of people coming back to the clinic for examinations. That way, coming back but they realize that they need to be on top level of fitness to protect themselves against COVID infection in the future. And the big thing I've been promoting is the importance of vitamin D. Franklin Graham is a good friend of mine. And I worked with his father in October 6, 1974, and I spoke with the Maracanã Stadium, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I had the privilege of getting to know him quite well. But his father passed away. But then meeting Franklin, when he came through in January this year, he wanted to put a feature in their magazine, Decision magazine, on my life. And the title is God has had his hand on my life. And I mean, without question, I think the reason I'm here today at 90 years of age, and when my medical school class has already died, I'm still around or something. But I did have a byline in there on the importance of vitamin D. Cooper, vitamin D might save your life. That went to 8.5 million people around the world. I've been overwhelmed with response. A lot of these people of color. And the reason people of color have a 5 to 7-fold increase in being hospitalized and a 2-fold increased risk of death from people with lighter skin is because they can't manufacture vitamin D because of the on their skin. And their vitamin D levels are in the single digits, low teens. And it should be 40 or 50. Mine is checked this week, and it was 68. And we've found with our patients, we've encouraged them to get at least 2,000 units a day of vitamin D. And we found by doing that, we brought their levels of our patients up from 30 to 42. And that's the level where we see protection for coronavirus. In one of the articles I have published in Decision magazine, do I need to keep taking vitamin D if I've been immunized? The answer is yes, you need that.
Sure.
Because that's adding things, 1 + 1 = 3. Yeah. You need to do that too. You need to take the vitamin D, all the recommendations being made about COVID, because there's going to be coronaviruses in the future. We've had one about every 5 years.
Yeah.
But you can prevent that. If we get that message around the world, and people listening to us now, that you ought to get your vitamin D measured, find out what it is. If you can't get it measured, expensive, just start taking 2,000 units a day. You might be surprised to see how impact that could have, particularly people of color.
Yeah. So you're 90 years old. You're extremely healthy. Do you have any supplements that you've taken for the last several years? Like I take spirulina, I take a multivitamin pack. What's like one of the secrets on the food supply side?
My routine is I've been taking vitamin D. I take 7,000 units a day. My wife does the same thing. And her vitamin D level was in the 80s.
Vitamin D?
Vitamin D. That's D3.
Yeah.
And that's
okay,
don't take D2, but take D3. We have our own products, but you can get over the internet. You get 5,000 units of vitamin D. It costs you $0.05 a day. So it's so cheap to get that. So that's 5,000 units of vitamin D. Our patients routinely take 2,000 units of vitamin D.
Is that the only supplement you take?
That's
only
one
vitamin?
No, I take our basic, we have a basic vitamin product. It's called Cooper Complete. And it's one that we did original research. We've spent millions of dollars on that. And I take 4 twice a day of our vitamin. That has 2,000 units of vitamin D. There's all the other routine thing that you need of multiple vitamins. On top of that, I take the 5,000 units of vitamin D. That gives me 7,000 units a day. I do that every day.
Gotcha.
But
how many years have you been doing that for?
I've been doing that for many years, probably 10 to 15 years at least. But then we started our vitamin product about 25 years ago. But then I take the Joint Health, and that's glucosamine and chondroitin. I take 2 twice a day. Because I broke my legs. Joint Health. That's glucosamine and chondroitin. There's all different versions of that you can buy it over the counter. But our product is called Joint Health. A study was done in Europe several years ago. They looked at people with osteoarthritis of the knees. And they had a double-blind study in which some people took a placebo, others took the Joint Health. They followed them by MRI scans for a period of 2 years, every 6 months. And those who took the Joint Health, they found it stabilized the joint space, and they had a decrease in pain. Those who didn't take the Joint Health, they lost joint space and had an increase in pain.
What does the supplement do?
It lubricates the joint and stimulates the growth of new cartilage. That's what it does. So I've been taking that for years after I broke my leg skiing.
Yeah.
When I broke my leg skiing, I had to have surgery.
What mountain were you on? What level? Double diamond?
No, it was a double diamond. I was skiing on a black. I've been skiing 52 years. Never had an injury until I broke my leg skiing. I wiped that out.
It's probably something. It wasn't you. It must have been some obstacle or something.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I did a obstacle. That's right. Hit a rock or a twig or something tumbled down the mountain. Yeah. Kind of interesting that I was up about a quarter mile away from the mid-mountain there where my wife had gone to lunch. When I got up, it took me, I was on a steep slope, so it took me about 10 minutes to get my ski back on. And I skied on down there.
One-legged skier?
I was skiing on both legs, and I had a lot of discomfort. It wasn't that bad. I stumbled into the lodge, told my wife, I'll see you at the bottom. I've hurt my leg. I don't think it's anything serious. So I went down the chairlift from the halfway mountain there. It's Beaver Creek, Colorado. I got to the chairlift, and we have a home there at Beaver Creek, and I called the daughter. I think by the time I got to my home, and we had a steep driveway that was very icy, and here I was carrying my skis, my heavy boots, and I had to get down that steep highway and get in and call the hospital. They had me in the hospital. I went up from me the next day. But the pain level was like 10 by the time I got to the.
Oh my gosh!
But no, I think the
one broken leg in all those years. That's not
that's
bad.
one broken
Not
leg,
bad.
and that's the only major problem I've had. But I think the endorphin level that I got from skiing is actually what gave me, because that's the body's response to pain, and that's why the famous story of the Boston Marathon, that this guy that was running the Boston Marathon, and he got to 7 miles of the Framingham level, and since I've run it twice, so I know it well. He thought he'd stepped on a twig or a stick, and but he heard something step. He had a little pain discomfort, didn't think much about it. But then he kept running. And so he kept running and finished it in under 3 hours. And as soon as he finished, he collapsed. They took him in, they did an X-ray and found he had broken his leg and had run 15 miles on a broken leg at that time. How could he possibly have done that? The answer is stupidity. But the truth of the matter is that the endorphin levels were so high.
The body just shut down.
The body shut down. He didn't feel the pain.
Yeah.
So that's why people, emergencies, when they have a fire, take a refrigerator out of their house, they couldn't possibly do that because the endorphin effect you do.
Yeah, we see somebody pick up a car, you're like,
yeah, they do that. But that happened to me after I broke my leg. I think it's the reason I was able to get that. But the interesting thing, too, I had shattered the tibial plateau. And there's a little spot in the center that they couldn't do much about except try to glue it in. So after that, later on, I had another MRI of my scan, and they found that divot, that it was the divot there. And so I said, let me see if the close-man chondroitin would help that. And so after going to the close-man chondroitin, I get back on that after broken my leg, and 6 months later, that had healed up.
Wow.
So I generated
your own clinical trial.
Yeah. And I regenerated new cartilage.
Wow.
And filled that up. And so I don't run anymore. But an interesting thing, too, when I had the X-ray, the MRI of my scan of my knees, they wanted to scan the other knee that was normal. And here I'd run 40 years, 38,000 miles, Boston Marathon twice, ultra marathons, and all that. And they told me my left knee looked like a teenager. No osteoarthritis at all.
Nice.
And my point is, people worry
you
about
got to put your knee on like Instagram, have its own like Cooper knee. It's like its own
Cooper
account.
Knee. Well, I've been telling people that the reason you get osteoarthritis in the knees and the hip is you exaggerate a pre-existing condition. But if you don't have a pre-existing condition, it's probably going to help you benefit from getting osteoarthritis in the knees and the hip. And so we've noticed that. We try to promote that too. Because these are things we've discovered over the years in our research. And our research is trying to make exercise safe and effective.
I want to take a minute and tell our audience about 2 awesome workout recovery products I've been using for the last 18 months from higherdose.com, leader in infrared technology for athletes like all of us are. We're an investor in the company. That's not why I'm telling you this. I'm telling you this because it works. You got an infrared sauna blanket. I hop in there. I'll listen to some podcasts, burn 800 calories, get a mad detox. And a PEMF, which is a pulsed electromagnetic field crystal mat that I lay on, and I recalibrate my cells to the normalized level of the earth. If you got somebody you like and you're looking for a pretty awesome gift, they will love it. You could use this code HALO75, get $75 off, and you will not be disappointed. higherdose.com, promo code HALO75. And now let's get back to our regularly scheduled program.
So how, switching gears, because I want to get your opinion, you've got a lot of these watches, the Apple Watch, you've got the Whoop, you've got a Ring. Which one's that?
Fitbit.
The Fitbit?
Yeah.
Are you at the Cooper Institute now basically remotely monitoring people through their devices? And how much has that kind of changed people understanding themselves and getting excited about their own data?
Well, if we get data drives decisions, without questions. Data drives decisions.
Yeah.
I know we're trying to get FitnessGram testing in the state of Texas, and I had difficulty getting this in for children from the 3rd to the 12th grade. And they want to do that because they want the government involved. We tried to get the funding to do that, couldn't do it. But I finally raised the money myself. We got it in. But I said, we got to have data to prove success of the program.
Sure.
Why do they measure for math and science and reading? Why do they take tests to monitor improvement? You have to admit, I don't want the government involved in any involvement with my child. I know what's good for my child. Yes, you do what's good, but you failed miserably. We have an obese epidemic, and obese epidemic.
When I see a kid with childhood diabetes, I'm like ashamed. I'm ashamed. It's like, come on, why would you let that happen?
Yeah, and
that's a choice. That's not a condition.
And we're starting to see hepatitis in the liver of these young people that are getting diabetes, and as a result of the fat invading the liver. And so that's ridiculous. So I finally improved with these people. If you get some testing, and we started doing that back in 2008, all of a sudden we got results in Texas unparalleled now. So data drives decision. So I want
to talk to you afterwards about that, getting some of this information and make sure we have that front and center.
Yeah, we get that in. But again, they having the Fitbit and things of that type to monitor. The new Apple Watches, my gosh, you can monitor what you've done, record it and all that, how fast you're doing. I'm just satisfied with the number of steps. Now, we thought that, well, of course, 5,000 steps a day is what's recommended. But there's just about 2.5 miles of running, and 10,000 steps is 5 miles. At least for me it is. Most people it is. Yeah. But the new study just published last week, even talking 3,000 steps a week has benefits. So it doesn't take that much. As I say, our recommendation basically is 30 minutes of exercise, collective or sustained, most days for a week. And that's what we've been able to show by doing that. You can increase longevity by up to 6 years, reduce decimal causes by 58%. Mm-hmm. You get to the higher level of fitness, it's 9 years increase in longevity and 65% reduction in decimal causes. We've proven that in published scientific literature. Mm-hmm. But people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that no drug can replicate the benefits of an active lifestyle. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to do it. They want the pill.
Yeah, they see it. They're almost like focused so much on technology and innovation in the biopharmaceutical space that they forget that you actually don't need to find a cure for something if we could cure it on our own. Right? Let's just cure this so you don't have to go and spend money on that. Let's go focus on things that you don't know what the answer is yet, like, cancer and certain tumors and things of that nature. That's where the money should go. Anything that we know how to prevent, let's just spend the money and the education on prevention. I don't understand what's taking so long.
I don't either. It's been talking to a blank wall for a lot of years. But I spoke for members of Congress, so I'll tell you about that. Uh-huh. I hope to get that message out through the watch. But it's been a failure. I'm there twice become Surgeon General. They wanted me to concentrate on avian flu and bioterrorism. I want to concentrate on child obesity and diabetes, adult obesity, diabetes, the cost of health care. Studies showed that those people thought for 25 years, top levels of their cost of health care was 40% less from 65 to 75 years of age. I'm telling you, if you can increase your life expectancy by at least 10 years on the national average. If you reduce Alzheimer's dementia by 36 to 60%, you reduce deaths from chronic diseases such as chronic kidney disease and dialysis by at least 40%, congestive heart by at least 50%. Would you be interested in doing that? It doesn't require medication. It doesn't require your physician. It requires what you can do for yourself. You've got to understand that your health is your responsibility. You don't change people by getting the government involved. You get to change people by getting them involved in what they can do.
This might be a novice question, but are there countries around the world that you've identified where either if you are obese on your own, there's obviously people that have conditions, right? And they take certain medications or have seizures or what have you, and they're obese, or diabetes is a condition that, that might be hereditary or genetic, right?
Adult onset diabetes isn't hereditary. That's lifestyle.
Okay. So are there countries that have policies that say, hey, look, if this happens by your own accord, either we're not paying for it and you're paying for it out of pocket, or, you're not at the front of the line because you've caused this, not me. This isn't my emergency because you've treated yourself and self-destructed. Now I have to fix you.
Yeah.
Are there any countries that have that kind of punitive policies?
Even trying to get insurance companies to cover the cost for examination, they won't do that. We're trying to get physicians to promote preventive medicine. Well, first of all, they said don't know how to do it because they aren't taught anything about exercise physiology in medical school. They aren't taught anything about nutrition in medical school. What I learned about nutrition and exercise, I learned at Harvard School of Public Health. Yeah. A master's in public health, the second year I worked with Dr. Exercise Physiology. I got the Harvard School of Public Health. We were told back in the old days, I was there for 2 years. Walt Will, a very good friend of mine, one of the top nutritionists in the world. And I said, how much nutrition education do the Harvard medical students get? And here, one of the world's phenomena as far as nutrition is concerned, right across the aisle, right across the street from Harvard Medical School, he said they get only 6 months in their freshman year, and it's optional. Oh. How much do you get exercise physiology? Nothing. What we're teaching and preaching is exercise first, how much is up, how much is too much. Nutrition, and stress management, all these various things we call getting Cooperized. That's where we have success, and people are coming back. We don't have to advertise. We've got more people we can handle. So we bridged that gap between fadism and scientific legitimacy. You exercise the price of medicine, but our results are too impressive to be ignored.
Amazing. Well, Dr. Cooper, it's been a pleasure having you on. I appreciate everything you've done for the industry.
Let me finish with one thing, though.
Please do.
This came out in the Mayo Clinic just this week, a special report on Parkinson's disease. And Parkinson's is like Alzheimer's dementia. And I was fascinated to see they read this. They said this: take care of your body. The only treatment to possibly help slow the progression of Parkinsonism is exercise.
Exercise.
Why can't
We're
we do
going to
that
leave
in the
on
clubs?
that note.
We have a Parkinsonism program at our fitness center, a dance class. They have boxing classes. And keep this in mind, too, that if you get on prescription drugs to control pain after surgery, just 7 days of taking prescription opioids is likely to increase the risk of being addicted to it.
Sure.
And we know now, too, just released this last June, that people have low vitamin D levels, less than 20. The tendency to get addicted to opioid drugs just accelerates.
Wow.
So people got to start measuring their vitamin D, start getting vitamin D supplementation, and we can change the world as far as COVID is concerned, as far as longevity is concerned, if people will listen to what they've heard today.
Well, thank you for coming on. Everyone, you are now officially Cooperized. Take the torch that he has lit and run with it. Thank you for coming on Halo Talks, and we will carry on everything you want us to. So thank you.
Thank you.